Hi, we're here today to talk through some basic design rules. My name is Brenda Field, and I'm the Yearbook Advisor at Glenbrook South High School in Glenview, Illinois. I'm going on my 25th year of yearbook advising, which is super hard to believe, but I still love everything about it. And in particular, I really love teaching design. I know, however, that design can often be kind of intimidating. So my job today is to try to demystify that process for you and take you through a step-by-step process and illustrate some principles that will help you create layouts that are really engaging and content is really enhanced by the design decisions that you're making. So it always starts with the visual and verbal content. Those things need to drive the design. So when I say visual and verbal content, I mean the photos that you're taking, the stories that you're writing, and the captions you're including to go with those photos. Those things need to be driving the decisions that you're making and not the other way around. So let's take a look at a layout where I think these things are working really effectively. This is from Bryant High School. There are lots of things that I love about this layout. But first and foremost, the thing that really draws my eye as a designer and that I hope that you can really understand and see is the dominant element. It's very clear to the eye. My eye knows exactly what it's supposed to look at first. It's this gorgeous photo in the center, and there's no question that that's where my eye is to go. Now, granted, it's a beautiful photo. The expressions on the faces are fantastic, but it's also nice and big. And so, like I said, it establishes dominance. So it's the dominant element on the spread. The second thing my designer has done as I look at it is really thought about where to place the copy. The copy block is placed adjacent to the photo and in a way that my eye is naturally drawn to it because that's the way the subjects in the photo are facing. So my eye goes first to the dominant, next to the copy block, and then to the secondary photos along the perimeter, and lastly, to the captions and the alternative copy. There's also really great color decisions being made here and consistent use of fonts, but those things are done in such a way that the content is really enhanced. It's not distracted by those design decisions. My eye still goes to the photos and the words, and then it's all brought together by the other design elements that are there on the spread. So how do you make this work on your layouts? Step one is to establish column grids. Now, this is something that anyone who isn't a designer isn't really going to think about or notice, but it helps provide the structure for the placement of everything. It helps make sure that things are aligned, and it helps make sure that there's a standard amount of spacing between elements on your spread. So you can use 8 columns, you can use 10 or 12 columns. This layout's going to use a 24-column grid setup with 1 pica of spacing in between each grid. So a pica is the unit of measurement in the printing industry. So if you hear me use that term, it's just there are 6 picas to an inch, and there are 12 points in a pica. It's just a small little square that helps to create consistent internal margins between elements on my spread. So to follow these columns, I'm going to place everything according to the columns themselves. So as we take a look at these 24 grids that are here, everything is going to start on a grid or end on a grid. I'm not going to have anything falling directly in those white spaces in between. Now, that extra wide space in the middle is called the gutter. So that's the middle of the book. So everything's going to start and end on one of these grids. That's following your basic column setup. So step 2 is to start with this dominant image, just like in that layout from Bryant that we looked at. That storytelling image, that dominant, really drew my eye first. So I want to kind of anchor everything around that dominant photo. So I'm going to choose a really beautiful storytelling image for that dominant photo. I'm going to place it on my column grid, and I'm going to think about it as a focal point. Typically, I'm going to make sure that it crosses the gutter, and I'm going to make sure that it's not directly centered across the gutter. It's going to serve as a focal point, and it's going to link the left and right side of my spread. So you can see here that this was placed on the column grids. Notice that it's not directly in my gutter. And the reason for that, well, there are a number of reasons for it, but one reason for it is oftentimes there's something really important in the center of a photo, and you don't want to lose that in the gutter. You also kind of want to have things be a little bit asymmetric on the left and right side of your spread. So step 3 is to allow that dominant photo to guide the placement of the eye line. So the eye line is a term or it's something that designers use to help determine where to place elements. You want the eye, as it looks at content, to move very smoothly from left to right across the spread. So the eye line is typically established by the placement of that dominant photo, which we've already put down. So here's my eye line. It's directly beneath the dominant photo, which is already at the very top of the spread. So my eye line is directly below it. And notice that it's not directly in the center of the layout. It's a little bit below that. This eye line is going to help me decide or know where to place all the other elements on my spread. So columns first, dominant photo, then eye line. Now, if you think back to that Bryant layout that we looked at, we had that really nice dominant photo, and the subjects in the photo, their eyes were drawn or drew me as a reader to the copy block that was right next to it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place the headline in the story module based on where my eye is drawn by the dominant photo. So you can see that I've placed this copy block and headline directly to the left of this dominant photo because that's naturally where my eye is going to go. Notice that even this copy block all of the content starts and ends on my columns, and notice that it's sitting right on my eye line. So that helps to establish a consistent internal margin of 1 pica between everything. Step 5 is going to be to add secondary photos, and those are going to be placed around the dominant photo. I'm going to create some contrast. So some things are going to be a little bit bigger. Sometimes I'm going to use a horizontal photo. Sometimes I'm going to use a vertical photo. But I'm going to work around the inside of the layout and out around in that order. So I'm going to start at the center, and then I'm going to work my way out. So notice here I have placed secondary photos around the perimeter, and after I've placed the secondary photos, I've added a little piece of alternative copy on the left-hand side, but notice that I've left what's called a rail, or one grid of white space, that gray vertical bar on the far left side that I can see between my story and this alternative copy on the far left. That helps my eye know that that's a separate piece of content. But notice I haven't placed my captions yet. Don't worry, they're going to have a spot. That's my next step. Step 6 is to add the captions. So again, I'm going to follow the column grid, and I'm going to place them to the outside of all the other content. So I start with my photos in the center, and then my words, and then on the outside of the layout, I'm going to have some white space. So they should be placed adjacent to the photos that they describe, and I'm typically going to try to use a consistent width for those captions. So you'll see here, now, these arrows that are here are really just to indicate which caption goes with which. I wouldn't include this on my layout, but that helps you see that each one of these photos does indeed have a caption. So that's it. That's your basic step-by-step process. So if you want to amp up your coverage, I'd encourage you to take a look at the digital classroom. There are some resources in there, including how to take this basic layout that we've just walked through and add even more content to include more photos and maybe even more types of coverage. So starting from where we ended and adding some more. So this is available in the digital classroom. There are tons of other things that are there for you as a beginning designer in the digital classroom, so I'd encourage you to look there. And good luck, best wishes, and make some design magic.